All right, today's lesson is 1.07, Pythagorean theorem. So you will need your math notebook, pencil, and your calculator. So please make sure you're taking notes. You are working out those problems as we go through them in this lesson. I'll go ahead and get started. So our essential question is, how do I use the Pythagorean theorem to find the length of a missing side of a triangle? I will be able to use the Pythagorean theorem to find the length of the third side of any right triangle when given the lengths of the other two sides, so that I can determine the missing length of a right triangle. I'll know I got it if I can analyze the information to find missing lengths of right triangles by using the Pythagorean theorem. All right, here we go. So might be easier just to take a screenshot, or if you want to write it down in your notes. So here's the Pythagorean theorem definition. Theorem says that in any right triangle, the sum of the squares of the legs is equal to the square of the hypotenuse. And we went over that in the last lesson, what the legs were. Remember, the hypotenuse is always across from that right angle, and it's the longest side. So you have your two legs, so you square those, and it's equal to the hypotenuse squared. And that's where we get the formula, a squared plus b squared is equal to c squared. All right, and the legs are the two shorter sides. The hypotenuse is the longest, always across from the right angle, or opposite. So here's a couple of examples. Now, if it's a word problem, you might want to draw a picture. You want to make sure you can identify the legs and hypotenuse. Substitute the known values into the formula that you have. Square the two known values. If a leg is unknown, you're going to isolate the variable part and then take this square root to find the value of the remaining variable. Now this is on your STAR reference chart, so you have that for your formula. A squared plus b squared equals c squared. So here's example 1. You have this leg is 10, this one's 13, and we're finding the hypotenuse because they're across from the right angle. So you have your formula, you substitute in the values, and then you square those. 10 squared is 100, 13 squared 169. You add those together, that is c squared. Now c squared, to find what c is, it's actually, you take the square root. They didn't mention that. So if you put into your calculator 269 and then do the square root sign, or just do the square root of 269, it's approximately 16.4. So again, it says c squared, to get c, it's the square root of that. Here's a second example. Write the formula, and this time we're missing one of the legs. All right, so they used this for A. We don't know what A is. We know what B is, and we know what C is. Square those values, and then solve. You got to isolate this variable, so you're going to subtract 144 from both sides, and you get a squared is equal to 256. So a is going to be 16 because you're going to do the square root of 256. Use your calculators. All right, so let's try a few practice problems. So we have the side is missing. What is the length of x? Here's our right angle. So it's going to be our hypotenuse. So we have our formula, a squared plus b squared is equal to c squared. You should be writing this in your math notebooks. 6 squared plus 8 squared is equal to c squared. We don't know what c is. We're going to square the 6, gets 36. We're going to square the 8, we're going to get 64. We're going to go ahead and add those together. 36 plus 64 is 100, and that is c squared. So c is going to be the square root of 100. So do the square root of 100 to get c. and that's going to be 10. So the missing link there is 10. All right, we're going to find the y here. So this time we know what the hypotenuse is. It's 12. We're missing one of the legs. So it doesn't matter if we use the 8 for A or B. Doesn't matter. Just one of the legs. So there's our formula. A squared plus B squared is equal to C squared. Let's go ahead and put A squared plus 8. We have that side. And we have the C. All right, so then we're going to square 8. We'll get 64. We're going to square 12. You get 144. Now pause this if it's moving too fast and use your calculators. Then we need to isolate the variable. So we're going to subtract 64 from both sides. And we get A squared is equal to 144 minus 64 is going to be 80. So then A will be the square root of that. Definitely need to use your calculator. That's not a perfect square. So make sure your calculator is on and find the square root of 80. All right, I'm putting it into my calculator right now, so bear with me. Oh, hold on. All right, so make sure you do second x squared, put in 80, and it's approximately 8.94. So we can just put approximately 8.9. Again, on the calculator, you're going to do that second key, the blue key, press x squared, which above that, you'll see that square root sign. Put in your 80 and press enter to get the square root of 80. Next one, so we have a rectangle and we have a diagonal here, and we're trying to find the diagonal, which just happens to be the hypotenuse of this right triangle. So we have A squared plus B squared is equal to C squared. And we're going to use 16 squared plus 10 squared is equal to C squared, which D, it's D. So make sure you find out what 16 squared is. Use your calculator if you need to. 256. And then 10 squared is 100. That is C squared. Add those together, you get 356. And that's C squared. And we want to find C, so you're going to do the square root of 356. Put that in your calculator. Remember, you're going to do second x squared 356, and it comes out to approximately 18.86. So usually if it's a multiple choice, you'll be able to figure that out, or it'll tell you round it to the nearest tenth. We'll go ahead and round it. We'll do 8.9. And our last practice one, this time we're looking for this side. We have the hypotenuse and we have one of the legs. So we have A squared plus B squared is equal to our C squared. So we're going to find A squared, 8 squared we know there, and then we have 17 squared. The 8 squared is 64. I'm not sure what 17 squared is. I'm putting it in my calculator. Oh, put the wrong digit in. 289. All right, so 289. And then we're going to isolate the variable. So we're going to subtract this 64. And we end up with a squared is equal to 225. And to find a, you're going to do the square root of 225. I think it should be 15. Just verify on your calculators. Second, x squared, 225. Yes, it's 15. So a is equal to 15. All right, that's all of our practice problems. Please make sure you go through the OMS lessons, complete all of them, take notes, work out those problems.